Once again, welcome to this video presentation in the series Making Sense of Poetry, particularly unseen poems. Here we go with episode number 5, in which I'm looking at point of view, the way in which the narrative is unfolded and described. Let's have a quick look at the list, see how far we've got. So if I press that button, it might help. There we go. We got as far as physical appearance, vocabulary, imagery, and now point of view, with a rather reluctant arrow creeping in. There we go. Right. Now, point of view comes in 3 and possibly 4, if you must insist, different flavours. The first here is first person. We've borrowed the stage again from Jake's, and here we find that the narrator will be talking about what happens in the spotlight where the poem takes place. And this is the first person as a witness. First person narrator, I as witness. This is based on the old folk song. Early one morning, just as the sun was rising, I heard a young maid sing in the valley below. And here's the young maid, boo-hooing her eyes out. Oh, don't deceive me. Oh, never leave me. How could you use a poor maiden so? And where in all of this is the narrator? He's over here in the corner, describing what happens, looking closely at what goes on, but he is not involved in any way. Now, what if the first person is involved, is right at the centre? Here is that a not unknown poem from Wordsworth. And you might say, why does he keep on banging on about these daffodils? It's because they're readily available. So the I here is a participant, and in this particular case is a central figure. I wandered, lonely as a cloud, that floats on high o'er vales and hills. Here we go, and here he's wandering. That's the first person, and he's wandering about, and before hitting the waterfall he comes to a perilous stop, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host. Oh, that's the wandering cloud, by the way, going past there. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of dancing daffodils. There they are. Along the lake, beneath the trees, 10,000 dancing in the breeze. I couldn't afford 10,000, so that's as many as I could get on the screen. The advantage of being the first person present in the action is that you are involved in the scene itself, can imagine what the other characters are thinking. Each daffodil may have a thought of its own, but again it's a relatively limited perspective and not always reliable. So let's fade that out, draw the curtain close, and say to ourselves, what comes after the first person? The answer is, imaginatively, the second person, where the poet directly addresses someone or something. And if you look in the corner on the left, you'll see what that something is. Here we go. The second person, you, is addressed, or thou, or thee, depending on the tone of the narrative, addressed by the narrator. And here we have a little mouse stolen from the cover of Making Sense of Unseen Poems, looking out of a mouse hole. And we come back to this well-known, as if slightly impenetrable poem by Robbie Burns. And again, with apologies for my accent. Wee sleekit, cowering, timorous beastie. Oh, what a panic's in thy breastie. What a panic's in thy breast. Thou need not start a war so hasty, you need not rush off so quickly with bickering brattle. I would be laith to run and chase thee with murder and pattle. I would be unwilling to pick up my implement to run and chase after you and slap you down. So thou very frequently appears. We've seen this in Shakespeare. We've seen this with a very familiar poem that we looked at some time ago. It doesn't stop me having another look at it. Here we go. The end of the sonnets, shall I compare thee to a summer's day. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. This poem brings life to thee, even though both of us have passed away. Notice, though, in each case, we don't exactly get a full-blown description of the thou, the thee, or the narrator. We don't know whether they had brothers or sisters, whether they went to work on the train every day, or what medication they're on, just that they exist in the poem. So poems like this are very rarely about complete and full characters. So, now something a bit odd. We've had the first person and the second person, so let's draw the curtains because I've arranged it like that. And up on the screen come the third person. And in quotes, the fourth person. One of the aspects of the third person is where the narrator is completely detached and you can not even work out where he is in the poem. And I've put that there because many critics have adduced that there is such a fourth person. I'm not convinced. I think it just confuses the issue, but as you are likely to have come across it elsewhere, I've squeezed it in here. Now then, third person. Much of narrative fiction has a third person narrator. The point of view can range from a whole set of different approaches, and these can be mirrored in poetry. On the plus side, it offers the writer a wider range of options. But on the minus side, it is less personal. And that's why lyric poetry tends to be either first or second person, or a mix of the two. It's much more important in the novel, as many novels, most novels, are about people in circumstances. So here's just a taster of this point of view. Shall we start with the simplest one? The third or fourth person narrator. Here we go. There he is. This one is him being on one side. Here we go. He disappeared for a second, but he's back again. He's commenting on what these four characters are saying. He's got the perspective to see, but he doesn't know what's going on inside their heads. He's to one side of the group of people. He reports on what they say, where they are, what they look like, but this is what we call a non-intrusive narrator. However, narrative fiction is tempted to get involved with the crowd. Here it is, the first person, moving among them, including passing general observations. More importantly, getting inside people's heads. So he starts by looking at the four, then he stands between two characters listening to their exchange. Then he goes between the two characters on the left. Now he's inside the head of the turquoise jacket on the left. Then he's between the two separate groups. This constantly shifting perspective goes by the mouthful of a name, multiple selective omniscience, and there it is in all its glory at the top of the screen. Omniscience means all-knowing, and the multiple selective means it keeps switching point of view in a flexible manner. Now, that's not something likely to be found in poetry unless it's a long poem. This is just to give you the big picture so that you know where the various points of view sit. And in this case, this is the one least likely to be around in lyric poetry. And if I press the button again to remind you that this is where the poem takes place, what's going on here? Right, what's going on here is a neutral narrator with a touch of commentary by Lord Tennyson. It's the famous Charge of the Light Brigade. And note that the third person is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, observing what's going on, but not getting involved. Half a league onwards. All in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade. Charge for the guns, he said. Forward the Light Brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. So that is a detached version. Which reminds me of the story of my great-great-great-uncle was killed in the charge of the Light Brigade. I didn't know, says somebody, that he was a military man. He wasn't. He was camping nearby and went across to complain about the noise. And there they are, the valiant men. And I think they zoom past once more just to prove that I can do these effective little scenes. And so we have first person, second person, third person, and fourth person. All the points of view neatly sewn up.